is Rob Chappell, and it's 365 Amplified for Friday, November 29th. It is Native American Heritage Day, is that right? Yes, it is Native American Heritage Day, the day after Thanksgiving, which we all know the problematic nature of the way, at least the way we learned about Thanksgiving when I was a kid. So I hope you had a nice Thanksgiving. Now that we've thrown that out there, we did. The team is off. It is actually Thanksgiving Day still as I'm recording this. And the team is off enjoying their own family events and things. So I'm just going to tell you about a few things over the course of the next 20 minutes or so. The first thing I'm going to tell you about is that today's episode is brought to you by Steinhafel's. It's also Black Friday today, as you'll remember. And Steinhafel's is having their biggest Black Friday sale ever, and it's today only. So if you listen to this on Saturday or Sunday or Monday, you missed it. Sorry. Today, Friday, you can take $100 off every $14.99. Today, Friday only, take $100 off every $1,499 that you spend, plus get a $100 MasterCard for every $1,499 that you spend. That's $200 back for you. And if you buy a premium mattress, you will get free premier delivery on everything. Or you can choose to pay with 0% 60-month financing, no money down, and no hidden fees. It's Steinhafel's Black Friday sale today only. And we thank Steinhafel's for their support, their continued support of nonprofit local media. So a couple of news things I'm going to mention. First of all, coming up in a couple weeks, but you have to act by Monday if you want to get in on this. MOSES, which is an organization that supports people who've been impacted by the justice system mostly. It's called Madison Organizing in Strength, Equality, and Solidarity. That's what MOSES stands for. They're having their 7th annual Transformation Celebration Gala, Saturday, December 14th. It's 5:30 to 9. It's at the Braxworth Building at the Goodman Community Center on the east side of Madison. This is a nonprofit interfaith organization, and they're honoring 3 people who they for their transformation. They're honoring Action Jackson, Jessica Jacobs, and Kingston Robertson. Kingston Robertson and Action Jackson we've both featured for their business ventures. Action Jackson has a landscaping company. Kingston Rich Robertson has a clothing brand. And I don't know Jessica Jacobs. I would love to go to this and get to know her. They're all folks who've been impacted by the justice system, involved in the system, and have come through it. And have transformed themselves. So they're being honored at this gala. Carmela Glenn will be sort of hosting and master of ceremonies there. And we've got a link at madison365.org. We'll put it in the show notes to where you can get tickets. Tickets are $75 a piece, or $65 if you order more than one. And it supports this really pretty amazing organization. And you have to get tickets by Monday if you want in on this. So get on that. And the other thing we'll mention is the ongoing situation at Madison Common Council. To recap, if you've been listening, you know this, but Charles Myadze, who represents District 18, Madison's north side, is accused of domestic violence by 3 women and of sexual harassment by 3 other women. 2 women, his former girlfriend Michelle McCoy and his former wife Jamie Johnson, came forward in March to Madison 365, and we were able to tell their story, that they alleged that he was very violent to them during their relationships over the course of several years ago, right? That Michelle's relationship with him ended over 10 years ago. After that, 3 women made official complaints to the city Equal Rights Division, and a variety of different charges. Charges is not the right word. Allegations of just inappropriate behavior, lewd comments, intimidating behavior in some cases. This was investigated by a third party, an outside law firm. The initial finding was that most of them, basically that what these women said happened probably did happen. However, in 2 of the cases, it did not create a hostile working environment and wasn't illegal, right? Didn't break city policy or state law. They did acknowledge it was weird behavior, odd, troubling, but not illegal. The third case, which we learned later, involves fellow alder Juliana Bennett. Initially, they found that he did actually create a hostile working environment for her. He provided some more information. Not sure why he didn't provide that before, but after this report was issued in August, he provided more information, which basically was they were texting in a professional and cordial manner after 2 years after this alleged event where he intimidated her. So the outside investigators actually revised their findings and said, well, actually, it wasn't a hostile working environment. It still happened. They still think it happened. And then after that investigative report came forward, Gloria Reyes came forward to Madison 365 again and told her story of being abused in a domestic violence situation by Charles Myadze. Gloria, you might remember, ran for mayor. She was deputy mayor for a long time. She was a police officer for a long time. And then shortly after that, the Common Council, several alders put forward this resolution of censure, which has never happened before in Madison. No alder has ever been censured. It doesn't do much to censure somebody. It doesn't remove them from the council, doesn't take away their committee assignments, doesn't mean they can't vote on city matters. It's just it expresses the opinion of the body that he acted badly. Now, the censure resolution only mentions the sexual harassment investigation. Does not have anything to do with the domestic violence allegations. Because, as I was told by MGR Govindaranjan, who authored the resolution, that those are the allegations that received due process, where Charles was able to defend himself and so on. To be fair, we, in our reporting on the other allegations, the domestic violence allegations, we gave Charles ample opportunity to defend himself, and he chose not to. I mean, he did in the sense that in the first story that we did, he issued a statement to us basically saying that, no, that's not true, I didn't do any of those things. So that was the extent of his defense. He didn't offer any evidence, didn't rebut specific charges, didn't really attempt to undermine the story. He just said, no, that didn't happen. So he did have that opportunity here. And then when Gloria Reyes came forward, he just didn't respond. Now, since all this has happened, before the resolution was introduced on Tuesday, he actually did speak to Channel 3, WIC, the CBS affiliate here in Madison, and to the Capital Times. Still doesn't talk to me or us. But he continues to deny these allegations. He did say in a statement, he in addition to talking to those two outlets, he did post a statement on Facebook where he said, this investigation found that I didn't do anything wrong. I apologize. He apologized for making anybody uncomfortable, and that he's going to work on that. He said he also told Channel 3 that he intends to finish his term, which will go until April of next year. He did not say whether he's going to run for re-election or not yet. Carmela Glenn has already announced her candidacy for that seat. Whether she's running against him or somebody else remains to be seen. So, again, we will have a vote, and I would imagine some more public comment on that censure resolution on December 10th. I have to think, this is my speculation, that even though that resolution does not mention the domestic violence allegations, that will be on alders' minds. It is clearly on the minds of many of the people who commented, who sent in their comments and their thoughts in support of the resolution. Many of them mentioned the domestic violence allegations. So just because it's not in the resolution, it's very much part of the conversation at this moment. The other thing that's sort of parallel and adjacent to that is the executive committee on Tuesday heard a presentation from City Attorney Michael Haas, where he basically drafted a policy or a procedure for removal of an alder, because the city doesn't have that. State statute basically says, lays out some parameters for how a elected body, city council, could remove a member. That you have to have a hearing, you have to have witnesses, you have to the defendant has to be able to hear the evidence and face the accuser, and a lot of the similar things that you'd see in a criminal court. It's not a criminal proceeding, obviously, but basically the state statute sets it up so that it is a fair process. But it doesn't have a lot of the nuts and bolts and the step-by-step of actually how it happens. And with all this happening now, with these three allegations of sexual harassment, and then Gloria Reyes coming forward, and here's the thing. Here's a very important piece of all this that people kind of get lost in the shuffle sometimes. The initial allegations that we reported on back in March, they couldn't act on those at all in any case, because even if those allegations are true, it happened all many years ago when Charles was not on the city council. The city council can only act based on what he's done as an alder. Now, all three sexual harassment claims allege things that happened while he was in city council. Gloria Reyes alleges that he abused her physically while he was on city council. So all of those things the council could act on. So, unrelated to Charles Myadze, I am told, the city council has decided to codify or to put into writing what it would look like to remove an alder. Basically, this all has come up, and alders and leadership of the council kind of looked at each other and went, how would we even do that? Like, if we wanted to remove him, how would we even do it? We don't have a policy. We should, regardless of whether we do it now or not, we should probably have this written down. So the city attorney wrote a memo and a sort of an outline of what the procedure would look like. Basically, a citizen of Madison has to bring a complaint, and then the council has to decide whether the complaint is valid. Like, it can't be just frivolous. Like, it can't just be my alder voted against my zoning request, and therefore I want them removed. Right? It has to be like significant malfeasance or inefficiency, or just even like failure to attend meetings and that kind of thing. But it has to be verified, and then there has to be a hearing. They have to hire a hearing. Someone to preside over the hearing, kind of sort of a pseudo judge, and then there has to be the complainant has to make their case, the defendant has to make their case, and then it's a vote, and they have to get a 3/4 vote of the council. So 15 of the 20 members of the council have to vote to remove the alder, and then after the vote, the council will then decide whether or not the complaint was frivolous all along. I'm not sure exactly why that happens after the vote, but basically, if it's a 20-0 acquittal, and everybody can see that this was just a nonsense claim and we wasted a bunch of time on this, they can declare that and basically make the complainant pay for it all, pay for the attorney's fees and the hearing examiner, et cetera, et cetera. We'll also say they're going to require a bond to make a complaint. I don't think they've settled on the amount yet. State statute allows them to collect up to $1,000 as a bond, to say, as a sort of a deposit. So that, again, this is just to avoid frivolous claims. Like if you're just mad that they voted against your zoning request or whatever, you're not going to put up $1,000 and then forfeit it. If they determine that it is a valid case, even if they vote to keep the member on the council, if they vote that it was still a legitimate complaint and we had to go through this process, you'll get the bond back, right? So again, this was just presented to the executive committee. They're going to talk about it some more. They're going to work on it some more. And then they will either codify that as a city policy, which would be easy for the next council to modify, or they could codify it as an ordinance, in which case it would become kind of city law and would be more difficult to amend in the future. So it's not clear exactly what every provision of that's going to be. I just described to you what the city attorney pitched. They're going to make they had some good questions about how it would work and some of the details and what if. My hope is that just putting this out there as a possibility, and it's always been a possibility, but talking about it makes it like, oh, this could really happen, and here's how it would happen. I hope that doesn't inspire a bunch of frivolity, right? We've got in Congress, you've got somebody trying to impeach somebody all the time, and that doesn't make for good governance. So I'm hoping that just talking about it doesn't give people ideas. But the other thing I'll mention is the voters always have the authority to recall a member. North Side folks could get some petitions right now and recall him. That would take a long time. By the time you actually get done with the recall, it would probably be election time anyway. So that's probably why that's not going to happen. So all that said, it's ongoing. We're continuing to cover it. It's upsetting, and I wish we didn't have to talk about it anymore. Many people have called for Charles Myadze to resign. He has said he's not going to do that. Now, the last thing I'll say is it is Black Friday. Tomorrow is Small Business Saturday. I don't remember what Sunday is. Do you guys remember what Sunday is? Isn't Sunday something? I don't remember. Cyber Monday. And the day after that is Giving Tuesday. In the journalism business, we call it Giving News Day. Get it? We are in our news match period, which means any donation made to us gets tripled. Right? There's a foundation. It's actually a coalition of foundations that will match every donation 1 for 1. And then there's another foundation that puts money in for diversity, equity, and inclusion. So outlets like ours that amplify voices from communities of color and cover those issues around communities of color basically get another incentive, an extra $1 for every $1 you donate. Now, let's think about the story we just talked about. Michelle McCoy posted a video on Facebook on March 15th alleging that Charles Myadze had abused her in their relationship. And that was tremendously brave of her. She gets a lot of credit for doing that. She did not speak with any other media outlets. And that video got a lot of views within her circle, but not a lot outside that. The only media outlet that actually reported on her allegations and spoke to Charles's former wife and looked up the court records and got obtained copies of the court records from when he was actually convicted of false imprisonment back in 2002. That was Madison 365. The only media outlet that Gloria Reyes would talk to was Madison 365. She got calls from many other outlets who knew that she had been dating Charles And when these allegations came out, reporters from many other outlets started calling her, and she just didn't take their calls. And she called us. Why? Because we have spent the last 9.5 years building trust. There are certain stories, certain communities, where the only media outlet that people will trust is Madison 365. That's been the case for several years. I've heard that several times. I got a call probably 5 years ago from a mom who had a child who was hit on the bus by the bus driver. And her father, the child's grandfather, was a prominent person, said, don't go to the press with this. They're not going to tell the story right. And she came to us. And we told the story, and there were consequences for the school bus driver. That's been the case. People who have these difficult stories do not trust, have never trusted mainstream media with their stories. They trust us. If we did not exist, if we did not tell that initial story, because here's what happens. We told that initial Charles Myadze story about Michelle and Jamie, that their courage coming forward to talk to me and allowing me to tell their story inspired. That's what inspired those other women to come forward. They all told me that. They all told me that when Michelle and Jamie came forward, then that inspired me to come forward with the sexual harassment complaints. And then finally, months later, Gloria felt able to come forward. None of that happens. There's no censure resolution. None of you, except people on the north side, would have heard of Charles Myadze except for Madison 365, breaking those stories, doing the deep digging, reporting to make sure everything's accurate, to present the story fairly, in a way that's fair to those women and that's fair to Charles, but that is true. That is the truth. Without us, those stories don't happen. This censure resolution does not happen. It's against, I'm feeling uncomfortable because I feel like I'm tooting my own horn here, but that's what you have to do in fundraising, right? You have to be comfortable doing that in fundraising. The fact is, none of those stories will be out anywhere except for us. You want to support that, don't you? You want to support the one outlet that the most marginalized people trust? I know there's a lot of people who donate to us that don't even read our stuff because they just are happy we exist, because we are here observing, we're here watching, we're here holding folks accountable in a way that other outlets just can't, because we have the trust of these people in these communities. So, if that's resonating with you, if you are glad that we are telling these stories that wouldn't be told otherwise, go to madison365.org/donate right now. It's a couple of clicks. You give us $5 a month, we get $180 because they'll match your entire 12-month commitment. You get $20, we get $60. I think that moves the needle. Okay, we're a nonprofit outlet. We can't do this without you. The fact that you're still listening to me right now, you're listening to me beg you for money. That means you care. Here's the other thing. If you have given to us this year, thank you. If you could throw us another $5 right now, like that will get matched twice. Like, thank you for the $50 you gave us back in the summer. Thank you. You got 5 more, please? That gets us just an extra free money, right? So, okay, I'll shut up now. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful weekend. You can do the donation now. You can do the donation on Giving Newsday if that would make you feel better. If you'd like to be part of Giving Newsday, you'll get an email from me probably today, probably again on Tuesday. But please do chip in. We appreciate it so much. Have a wonderful weekend. Have a wonderful holiday, and we'll be back next week.